Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
And for those of you joining us for the very first time, it's about time. Come on. What took you so long? But welcome. The way we format our show is first we start out with some news, again ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more, and we follow up with our comic book pull list of the week.
And it wouldn't be a podcast in 2015, in November of 2015, if we didn't bring up Star Wars, because it seems every single podcast, every single show, every Facebook page, profile, friend that you have has at one point or another posted about Star Wars.
I have not ever posted about Star Wars. So it's not every friend.
Well, this counts, because you are now talking about Star
Wars. I refuse.
And it's not that we don't like Star Wars, it's just not something that we're as passionate about like we are with DC Comics or even the Marvel books. But it is coming. It's a very exciting time for people that do like Star Wars. And there was a bit of news that came out of that I think relates to what a lot of creators may talk about as they create their own works.
In an interview with Vanity Fair, Star Wars creator George Lucas reiterated on why he's glad he is no longer writing or directing the movies.
Quote, "I made a shit ton of money from that deal."
He did not say that.
All right, the real quote. "You go to make a movie and all you do is get criticized, and people try to make decisions about what you're going to do before you do it," Lucas explained. "You know, it's not much fun, and you can't experiment, you can't do anything. You have to do it a certain way. I don't like that, I never did. I started out in experimental films, and I want to go back to experimental films, but of course, no one wants to see experimental films."
Now, an experimental film that everyone would go to see if he made Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Yes. If he made a porno. And he would still make billions.
He would, although I think Disney might have a problem with it.
Just a little bit. He just has to change his name. Luke Georges. Nobody would know.
No, they wouldn't. So yeah, big thing, right, with George Lucas and Star Wars. I mean, this is a project, a film that blew up way bigger than anyone expected, and eventually he did the sequels and the prequels. And when it came to the prequels, the first one being Episode 1, everyone criticized him for that. Jar Jar Binks was a big thing. With the sequel, he did have to write in a portion for Boba Fett and Jango Fett, because there were such popular characters that fans expected something of them in the films. And he said this before. This is not new, that he's glad he's not doing these movies anymore. But he's just kind of going out there and reminding everyone as we get closer to Episode 7 that he's just a huge weight off his shoulders. And after so many years of doing it and so many fans going against him and yelling at him and threatening him because of the way he did things, even though they'd still go and see an Episode 7 if it was done by George Lucas, written or directed, I feel like he's just had enough of it.
I don't blame him. I would have enough of it too, especially with, of course, how wide the internet is now. It's so easy to get out your dislike for something and, you know, get other people behind that, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And to hear that, you know, I'm sure it's not easy making a movie. You put blood, sweat, and tears and hours, and, you know, there's probably some days that you don't sleep because you're busy doing all of this stuff, and to put that much work into it for these people who just come back and criticize you for it, I wouldn't want to do them either.
1.2, and it goes back to the Boba Fett thing, is that people expected him to do things a certain way. So with that in mind, with these people that probably know more about the lore than you do at this point, because they're reading all of the tie-in comics, all of the stories that are on television through the TV shows, and he's probably mainly worried about the movies when he was doing this stuff. So all that pressure around it, and they're like, well, you should explain why this happened, and eventually he's just like, you know, fuck it.
He's still making money. He doesn't need to direct these things.
And I feel like if he didn't sell it to Disney, the project, I don't know whose hands it would have gone into next, but I feel like he's happier seeing the project forward and seeing like what they're doing with it, instead of him being at the front and center of it, trying to make these things happen, trying to make people happy. And when fans do get passionate about a certain series or a character even, as we talked about last week with Poison Ivy, they can get downright negative and vile. So good on George Lucas. I'm happy that he made his money, he made his films, and he wants to do something way different now. And he should go and do that. You know, he doesn't have Star Wars anymore. He can make whatever he wants. I'm sure it won't be anything sci-fi. Do what you want, George.
I'm glad he came out, though. It's pretty much like, y'all assholes. Peace out.
Yeah.
So something else that is doing very, very well in Disney's hands is ABC's Agent Carter. And it has been greenlit for a season 2.
Well, it's been greenlit for a while, and they produced it, and they're getting ready to release it, but they actually finally gave us the date for the premiere, which is Tuesday, January 5th, as it runs through March 1st.
That's not very long. We need a whole year of Agent Carter.
I can't wait. They moved the whole show to a different location, so the whole story is that Agent Carter, I think she's going to California to follow a case, and it's going to be a season-long case, I'm assuming. Or at least we'll have little, like the first season, little episodes where she has to solve this particular crime, but it's all going to lead up to something else at the very end of it. So we loved Agent Carter. It was, I think it was our favorite of the Marvel shows. Did you put it in front of Daredevil?
Yes. Yeah, I think I would. I did enjoy Daredevil, but there were some things, I don't know, he was always like, my life.
And then towards the end, Kingpin was the same.
Yeah.
So we can't wait for Agent Carter. We're really happy it got a season 2. Mm-hmm. And we'll be watching it on Hulu.
Yeah, January 5th is right around the corner, too. About to get into that holiday season.
And as we are going into the holiday season, you may want to keep certain solicitations in mind. Try to save some money as you're going through it. Because DC, as they do every month, they've revealed their solicitations for the next month for the following previews catalog. That month being February 2016. Here's a couple of highlights that Kelly and I pointed out and picked out. But you can see the full list at newsarama.com.
So as first seen in Batman Beyond animated series, the Splicers will be making their New 52 debut with Batman Beyond number 9.
If you remember the Splicers in the future, they actually modified DNA so you can take on certain traits from animals. So you can become faster by taking on a hyena, a splice, or whatever it is. You can camouflage yourself by mixing yourself with a snake or a cobra. There were all kinds of experimental things and weapons that people were using, and I think they ended up saying that they were abusing these powers because they couldn't really control them.
Right.
So these people were permanently stuck in their animal states, and sometimes they were way more aggressive than they were before they had this alteration.
That's really cool. I love that they're bringing that to the New 52 into the comics because there's a lot that you can do with that.
Do you remember the Splicers ever appearing in the Dustin Nguyen series or any of the Batman Beyond Unlimited?
I don't.
Because some people are saying that this is their first comic period debut, but I find it a little hard to believe that nowhere in any of the Batman Beyond comics, even the one based on directly on the television show that was out years ago, that there was not one Splicer in there. I know the hyena has definitely made an appearance in Justice League Beyond, I feel like.
The hyena guy who's part of the Joker crew?
Yeah.
He was? Is he really considered a Splicer?
I don't see why not. He's part hyena. He would be a Splicer.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I've seen him in there. I feel like he died very quickly. I don't know. This might take some research.
As we all know, the Darkseid War is continuing well into next year. It's an arc that I feel like Jeff Johns has expanded into more because of the reception to the story, which has been excellent. And we're getting a one-shot in February in place of a Justice League issue. So there will not be any Justice League comics in that month. Instead, there will be an oversized Justice League Darkseid War one-shot.
The summary for this is, see the truth behind Grail's role in this war and the future of the DC Universe as she tears her way across it. Don't miss this extra-sized special offered at the regular price of $3.99.
I don't know why they chose not to. Maybe they fell behind in the story and they needed that extra month, so they did the one shot. So we don't know the behind the scenes stuff with it. But you put out a Justice League series, a Justice League one shot, or just a regular continuation of the main stuff, and it will still sell. So I'm a little confused by this.
Yeah, both would sell. Like you said, maybe they did fall behind in the story. And this is a very, very easy cover-up for that. I understand they're saying there's no Justice League issue, but this kind of feels like a Justice League issue. That's what it looks like. Either way, I'm really excited to read it. This has been an awesome run so far.
I think it's also really nice that we're getting extra pages for the regular price of what the Justice League issue would be. So people can't complain that they're putting out a one-shot at $4.99 just to try to make extra money. It's like, no, it's $4, and it's probably got pages that a $5.99 or $6.99 book would have. Maybe a regular annual is what this would feel like.
Next, we have some real exciting news for us. Gail Simone will be writing for Batgirl as the character makes an appearance in Secret Six number 11.
Gail Simone on Tumblr, on Twitter, has made it very clear that she is not going to write Batgirl for a while. She even said maybe ever again. But then out comes this solicitation from DC Comics where Gail Simone saying, well, I'm going to put Batgirl in the story. She changes her mind so quickly. She just doesn't care. She's like, from one minute to the other, she contradicts old Gail Simone. She's like, screw that, I'm going to put Batgirl in this book.
Well, good for her, and she's so great at writing Batgirl. It's going to be wonderful to see her in this world, especially with the character that she's about to interact with, which is one of my favorites.
That's right. The solicitation reads, Strix, a former Talon once in the service of the Court of Owls, seems to have found a place in the world with the Secret Six. But now someone from her past comes calling, threatening to undermine whatever semblance of peace she has experienced with her newfound friends.
This sounds so amazing!
Batgirl's gonna fuck shit up for Strix.
Nah, and Strix is gonna fuck Batgirl up.
So who do you want to see sort of win out on this one? Do you think? I mean, they're not going to fight. They're going to come to an agreement.
Yeah, of course they are.
But I don't see why Batgirl's going after Strix. I don't know if she's trying to apprehend her because she is with the Secret Six. Are they going to conflict based on an investigation she's doing?
Maybe she needs her help.
Who would need whose help, though?
Batgirl needs Strix's help.
That would be awesome.
That would be the best.
And we made it very clear to Gail Simone a few years ago when you cosplayed as Strix and told her how special the character was to both of us, especially you.
Yeah, I absolutely love this character. You know, she doesn't speak a single word, and I love her and her story so much. Especially her very first appearance when we found out her backstory. That's one of my favorite books to date.
Yeah, that one was Batgirl Annual number 1 from the New 52. And if you go digging into bins now, it's going to be a little bit harder to find because of Strix and because she has expanded in the Secret Six universe. Out of all the talents that they created from the spin-off titles, I feel like Strix was the best one.
Better than that Calvin Rose or whatever his name was.
Who ended up being the villain in the Batman and Robin movie. Do you remember that? Robin, son of Batman, and then it ended up being Calvin Rose was the villain instead of Bruce Wayne's brother.
Yes.
Thomas Wayne Jr.
I do remember that. That was weird.
Continuing with the solicitations, we finally got some information as to who will be the interior artist for Batman.
Yannick Paquette, who's done Ultimate X-Men and Batman Incorporated Volume 1, will be taking over as the interior artist for Scott Snyder's Batman with issue number 49.
So we knew Greg Capullo was going to take a break. He's working on an independent project with, we said, Mark Millar. And someone else will take over. Greg still did the cover to number 49. I don't know if he's going to continue to do the covers moving forward or if they're going to let Yannick do some of them. But he's a good artist. I feel that a change with the Batman comic is fine. We still love Greg and we want him to stay on the book. But as we said before, if he needs to take a break to kind of recharge his batteries on Batman, because drawing Batman since 2011 can take a lot out of you, especially for an artist like Greg Capullo, who always works on his pages over and over again. If it's not perfect, he'll scrap a day's work, and just start over.
Yeah, Greg, take as much time as you need. Go ahead. Go on vacation. Just come back to us. This last solicitation is something that I'm debating whether or not I need to own. Right on that edge. But they have announced a Kelliring DC Batman Adventures Mad Love trade paperback.
Arguably your favorite Harley Quinn story of all time.
Yes.
DC Comics presents classic adventures in a whole new way, in black and white on heavy stock suitable for coloring. This Eisner Award-winning tale told the origin of Harley Quinn by the creative team that first introduced her in Batman the Animated Series.
The price point for this is $15.99. I'm so conflicted.
Because you would have to color over Bruce Timm's colors.
I know, and Bruce Timm's colors are so good, but my colors are real good too.
It's not coloring, it's Kelliring.
Yes, it's Kelliring. I mean, I could always color it and we could give it away to somebody.
We'll rip out a page each time and they'll get one page as colored by Kelli.
Yes. Patreon supporters, here's one page.
$15.99 is not bad. Even if you
No.
want to just own the inked version, I would say, of Batman Adventures Mad
Man,
Love.
I would color all that shit if I owned it.
It does come with a couple of extra things because the Batman Mad Love story was an extra sized issue, but it wasn't enough to take over a trade paperback. So they are throwing in a couple of one-shots from Harley Quinn's vast comic history to kind of fill up that trade. And I think people should definitely check this out. At my comic shop, I always have parents asking for coloring books. I can't wait for those DC variants to come out because I can say, yes, here you go. Even if we have them in the bins or in overstock, I can just be like, yep, we've got coloring books. Buy this at $4 and your kid can color in Batman. They can color in Harley Quinn. All of this stuff is great. And this might be the start of what they may do with more classic trade paperbacks. I think Batman Hush also got solicited as a coloring book. Is there another trade paperback that you would want to see done for coloring pages?
All of them.
Every single Batman. All right, so we'll get you the Grant Morrison Batman. You said all of them.
Fine, but I'm going to color it crappy. Everybody gets to be brown and black and purple. I would use all those colors.
I think if they were to redo the Batman Adventures trade paperbacks with the coloring pages, it would do really well.
I would buy it.
The inks for that are simple enough that anyone can color on them. They're not as complex as, say, when they do Jim Lee's, which they should have also. They should have both things. So people that actually are doing well in coloring can take their time and color over more complex art.
I do well in coloring. Are you saying I don't do well in coloring?
No, but not everyone colors as well.
People who actually do well in coloring.
These are people with Copic markers.
Yeah, I have Crayolipic markers.
So it's all good news. All great for kids.
And Kelly's.
And Kelly's.
Thank
and
you.
adults. And with that, we also have the theme for February's titles.
Meh.
And these are the variants that come out at cover price. They are going to be Neil Adams variants, 25 of them.
The covers will be an homage to Neil's more popular covers.
Each cover will be inked by a different guest inker.
So Neil went, I will do your variants of myself. All of my things. Well, Neil, we want something new. No. You want me, you will have my things.
It is definitely a Neil Adams thing to do.
Yes.
I gotta tell you though, some of these are awesome. Neil Adams has a lot of covers that are absolutely classic in the world of Batman. And even in the DC universe as well, there's been some controversial ones out there. And the fact that he's redoing these based on the character that the book is on, I think is awesome. I want to say the Batman Superman one recreates the very classic cover of Batman on the ground in the sand. They're both in the desert, and I want to say he included the scorpion that stung him during that fight. But he and Ra's are shirtless. Batman's knocked out, poisoned, and Ra's is standing over his body, and Talia's in the back looking worried on a horse. And it's an awesome, beautiful cover. It took me a while to track that one down, and he redid that with Superman on the ground and Batman instead above him. But they're both still shirtless, so where's the Superman loves Batman moment there?
Clearly, Superman can't get warm because he's not affected by the elements, right? But he's like, oh, it's so warm. Let me take off. Oh, I passed out from the heat.
You better carry me.
Carry me on your horse, Bruce.
Wait, so why is Batman shirtless then? Because he was legitimately warm?
Yeah. He was either legitimately warm or he's just been fighting Ra's. She's probably real tired. And he's driving by on his horse and Superman's just like there in the desert. And he's like, gonna keep going. You can fly home. And he's like, oh, the sun's rays. And he's like, the sun actually powers you, so.
I'm overpowered though.
Oh, so much power in my body. I need a release for it. Good job, Superman. I'm so proud of you.
So I will be getting that variant and maybe a couple more as well. So we'll see. If you want to see them again, check them out at newsarama.com. I will be tweeting out a couple of them through our Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke.
So February is going to be a really big month for DC. That month they will also be publishing The Dark Knight Returns, The Last Crusade as a special one-shot.
That's right. Frank Miller and Brian Azzarello, who are doing The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, will be writing this one with art by John Romita Jr.
Miller and Romita Jr. famously teamed up for 1993's Daredevil, The Man Without Fear.
Gorgeous, gorgeous book. We get it into collections every now and again, and I always have to flip through it. It looks like straight out of the show. The show absolutely took pages from this and put it in the show, because as well they should have. It looks so cinematic. It reads wonderfully, and the art is absolutely gorgeous. So the quote here from Romita is, quote, "I can't say much, but I can say this book's a prequel to The Dark Knight Returns, and it's got a lot to do with Jason Todd and what happens to him at the hands of the Joker. All this was only touched on in The Dark Knight Returns. We know Jason Todd met his end, but this is going to tell the story of how he met his end and what transpires up to that point," end quote.
That sounds amazing.
I had a coworker who said, "We already know the story of Jason Todd.
This is a different story."
Right. It's because this is in a different universe.
Yeah.
Is where The Dark Knight Returns takes place. At least that's how it started. I don't know if DC's trying to integrate it into the future of Batman. I don't think they are. I think they're keeping it as a separate story. But we don't know if it went down exactly like in Death of the Family. And we don't know what Frank Miller and Azzarello's The Dark Knight is going to be doing as they team it up. And it's a companion piece to The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race. Do you have to read it to get The Master Race? I don't think so. But I think it's something that we're definitely going to pick up as well.
Yeah, and with how dark The Dark Knight was, this could be even darker than the story that we've seen before. So I think this is a brilliant idea. Definitely can't wait for this to come out.
And Batman mentions several times Jason Todd in the Dark Knight Returns story. He talks about how he was a good soldier, and he uses that against Kelli at some points. So it's something that definitely drove Batman into not doing the Batman thing anymore, and it was definitely a huge part of that.
Right.
So to see how it happened and what this Joker, who is so different than the other Jokers in many ways, I think is going to be really exciting to see.
Mm-hmm. So something else that Frank Miller recently confirmed is that The Dark Knight 3 would not be the final chapter in his future set Batman story.
Miller confirmed that The Dark Knight 4 will follow on the events of The Dark Knight 3, The Master Race.
The Dark Knight 4 will be fully written by Frank.
No thanks, Frank. If it's just you handling the project, and I haven't even heard DC even mention any Dark Knight 4. I think this is you realizing that Azzarello took your original script, and with Dan DiDio, they went, okay, let's just take the best parts of this. And they even said it before. If you check out the DC channel on YouTube, there's an interview with Dan DiDio where he said they took the original script from Miller, and they took the most iconic portions of it and had Azzarello write around it to make it better. Because let's face it, something by Frank Miller right now does not sit too well. So if he's handling Dark Knight 4 by himself, I'm probably not going to read it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Frank Miller. I'm glad he's doing Batman stuff again. But as we said before, because Azzarello is helping with 3, that's why we're buying that. Him by himself, I'm not so sure. I don't even know if this will even happen. I think DC could still say, we're not going to let that.
DC's like, no. Shh, Frank, let's go back to your room. Let's go back over here.
I don't even know if he's healthy enough to be doing an entire story out of this. Right. I don't even know if he's going to do the artwork. He says he's going to do the entire book, but I don't think so. I think I really honestly don't think Dark Knight 4 is going to happen.
Is he senile now? Is that...
No, I think he was battling cancer at one point. We were talking about that, yeah. Among other problems that Frank Miller had, and he's done directing in the past. He's done plenty of art and writing, as we all know. So, I don't know. I don't see this happening.
If it does, DC will definitely get somebody to work with him.
They'd better. And if this is true at all, and this is not just him trying to hype up The Dark Knight 3, then we know that Batman, I guess, survives through The Dark Knight 3.
Call Kevin Conroy. Ask him if this is really happening.
He has all the info.
We still need that Twitter called, like, Kevin Leaks or something.
Yeah, we do.
So before we get into our comic book pool list, we just want to thank a few of our sponsors. First off, we have the Dr. Phillips Center at the Walt Disney Theater.
That's right. Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions is coming up quick on Friday, December 4th at 8 p.m.
Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions has become the must-see video game concert of the year, giving fans and newcomers of all ages a chance to experience the evolution of the Pokemon franchise like never before.
You can buy your tickets at drphillipscenter.org. Who knows what the pricing is now since we are so close to it. I don't know what the minimum is, so I'm not going to promise that they're going to start at $25, which is originally what they were. But this thing is filling up quick. It's selling so quick that you're probably going to end up paying for better seats. But if that's not a problem for you and you haven't bought this and you're really excited to go see it, definitely Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions, once again, drphillipscenter.org.
Or if you just listen to the podcast after that, I will sing all the songs for you with my lovely voice.
We'll definitely cover the Symphonic Evolutions. We're really excited for it. Kelli and I will be there. If any other Brokettes will be there, definitely let us know. Facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke or on our Twitter page.
You'll probably hear the bicycle song the most in my concert rendition.
Probably. And another show that we're actually going to be covering next week, at the time this podcast released, we will have already gone to MegaCon Fan Days.
As longtime Brokettes know, we are so excited for MegaCon in March. It's probably our favorite convention that we've ever been to. And this year we were lucky enough to get another one here in November. We will have full coverage for that next week. And any Brokettes who had the chance to go to the show, hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, share your photos with us. I'm sure you took plenty while you were out there. MegaCon is a huge friend of the show and to Nerd Up Media. They definitely help us out every single year. And we're always very thrilled to go to their conventions and cover them. As we've said in the past, MegaCon is our favorite convention, bar none.
And finally, before we get into our comic book pull list, we would like to give our Patreon shout out of the week. This week it goes to Neil. On Twitter is at InMattZ68.
Thank you so much for your support, Neil. And to all the Brokettes out there as well, to the rest of the Patreon supporters, you too can get your Patreon shout out every single month for a minimum donation of $1 per month. That equals out to about 25 cents an episode, assuming you only listen to the podcast and not check out the Let's Plays or the other shows. It's another way you can support us aside from the reviews. And of course, it will get you perks such as getting the podcast early.
We do want to preface, though, that our podcast will always be free for our listeners. We do this for you. This is just a way that you could support us and actually help us get out a better show.
In case they do want to support us on Patreon, Kelli, what is the website?
Patreon.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke.
One of the perks at the $5 mark is decals based on a certain theme that I will send out polls for. The first couple have gone out already, and another one is going out straight to Neil by the end of this month. And that is courtesy of decalavenue.net. More friends of the show, and definitely helps us out in getting more cool stuff to the Brokettes out there.
And with that, we can move into our comic books this week. Pretty big week. We have 6 indie books, 1 Marvel, and 3 DC.
First one is Adventure Time with Fiona and Cake Card Wars number 5 of 6, written by Jen Wang, art by Britt Wilson, and colors by Ryan Sig.
This is still such a fun series. I love Cake so much, and we're getting to see more of some characters that we don't typically see.
This has become a series that I enjoy more for the artwork than the actual writing. The plot isn't too big, it's more about the friendship that is Fiona and Cake, but even that isn't too deep. I want to say issue 3 is when we got the most character development out of this particular story, but it's still a fun issue, even though we don't play Card Wars, which is a real game out there, Brokettes. You can go to your local gaming shop or card shop, and they will have Card Wars on there, including the expansions. I still understand how it plays out as you're reading the book.
Pretty big reveal at the end, too. We have 1 more issue, so it'll all wrap up nicely in the end, but definitely something that you guys should check out if you enjoy Fiona and Cake.
Here's a special advance review coming your way, and this one comes from Batman TMNT number 1. We were able to get an advance copy from IDW. This one was written by James Tynion IV, art by Freddie Williams II, and colors by Jeremy Colwell. Don't worry, this is going to be a spoiler-free, very light review on it.
I will say that this issue feels much more like a TMNT comic and less like a Batman.
That's true, and I think they had to focus on one or the other when they were doing this issue, because if you tried to put in the DC stuff and the TMNT stuff, it would have felt too split and light straight down the center for both parts. So if you focus more on one group and then eventually move over to another with the future issues, I think that's a smarter route. And that's what this is too. The plot itself isn't overly complicated. We understand that there's going to be villains from both ends that they'll eventually both have to team up and go up against, as the crossovers normally do go. And we do have another crossover this week that we will cover on that too. But it still felt very exciting to see Batman in the world of the Turtles. I will say that this Batman is more like the Arkham games Batman, if that makes any sense. The interrogation immediately reminded me of the Arkham games. So I don't know if James Tynion wrote that in mind. Maybe it's because the character design looks a lot like the Arkham games Batman. But it's still awesome. It's great to see this version teaming up with these Turtles that aren't as dark or as brooding as he is.
Definitely cannot wait for issue 2 to see where this goes. And Brokettes, you should be so excited for when this comes out. Pick it up.
You can order your copy at your local comic book shop. It's still not out yet. That'll be out next month. Batman TMNT number 1.
Our next book is Giant Days number 8. This is written by John Allison with art by Max Serin, and the colorist is Whitney Kogar.
In this book, it's a story of what happens when a student ends up dating a teacher assistant, is what he was, and how she feels a little bit inferior to the rest of his friends because he is obviously older than she is. So their interests and their topics are way different than what this particular character has. So as you see her deal with that progression, her failure as she gets embarrassed and as the other guy gets embarrassed too, and how they each have to deal with each other when they blame the fact that maybe she doesn't know as much as these other characters, and she knows it too, but at the same time he's putting it on her as if it's mainly her fault.
The thing that I've enjoyed about this comic up to this point, and this particular issue still kept going with that, is these are very real life situations. You know, the things the characters are going through, it feels real, and this instance was no different.
If you want to catch up with Giant Days, the trade paperback just released this week, and we highly recommend that comic, the book. If you're into Lumberjanes at all, even Adventure Time, but want something a little bit deeper and more heartfelt, jump into Giant Days. It's aimed, I would say, at a younger female audience, probably in their 20s, or people going through college even.
Yeah,
That's the exact demographic.
I would even start with late teens, like the end of high school, going into college is who it's geared towards. And apparently bearded men also.
Or even mustached men, like the ones in the comics.
Yes.
So there's all of that in there. Another one geared to younger women is Lumberjanes number 20, which is our next book. It's written by Shannon Waters, art by Carolyn Nowak, and colors by Marta Laiho.
This is finishing up this arc we've just had where they discover mer people in their lake. Ultimately, this is a story about friendship and putting your friends' needs before your own. And you get to see some of the Lumberjanes work through that, and I think their group as a whole grew closer because of it.
Yeah, I wasn't blown away at all by number 20. It's actually my pass of the week.
Really?
And with this issue, I'm kind of done with the Lumberjanes. It's very hit or miss with me. The last arc was way better than anything previous to it, but this was incredibly weak. I didn't feel like these two issues were up to par.
I could see that. I love the premise of Lumberjanes, but you're right, it is a little more hit and miss than what we typically like to stay on for. Our next book is The Simpsons Winter Wingdings, number 10. This is a lot of names. Okay, wait, I can do this. Don't make fun of me. So for writers, you have Ian Boothby, Chris Yambar, Dean Rankine, and Max Davison. Did I do it?
Yeah, I might be Rankine. I don't know. I've never heard Rankine.
Whatevs. Okay, and then artist, you have Jason Ho, Phil Ortiz, James Lloyd, Jacob Chabot, Mike Cazalet, and Mike Rote.
Good.
Yeah. And then all these colorist names are wrong. They're supposed to be like Hi-Fi and Palette. But our colorists are Alan Hellard, Robert Stanley, and Art Villanueva.
So the Simpsons books we get 3 times a year.
Yes.
We get the Summer Shindigs, Winter Wingdings, and the Halloween specials, the Treehouse of Horrors.
Yes.
And they're always much longer. I think this one's $4.99. And it was fun. I really liked the Winter Wingdings. There's a really good throwback to Mr. Plow, which is one of the classic episodes in the Simpsons series. So to see Mr. Plow return, I thought was a real treat, especially for longtime viewers of the television show. And then there's a big focus on Mr. Burns and Flanders, who are some of my favorite characters as well from The Simpsons. So to me, that was great.
I wasn't as big into The Simpsons as you were, so while this was humorous for me, I don't think I got as much out of it as you did. I prefer the Treehouse of Horrors when they're like really scary. Those are my favorite Simpsons issues. This was entertaining, but probably not something that I would have picked up for myself.
Did you catch the movie reference to the first story with the charity?
No.
It's a Christmas movie.
Okay.
It was Die Hard. So he goes through, that's why he has
he's okay.
Wife beater and the glass and all that.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie the whole way through.
I thought it was awesome. I only wish there was like an Alan Rickman-ish character in there. I thought that would have been awesome.
That would have been great.
Next book is what you call NDC because it is Indie and DC Comics put together. This one is Star Trek Green Lantern number 5 of 6, written by Mike Johnson, art by Angel Hernandez, and colors by Alejandro Sanchez.
I still really, really enjoy this book, but let me summarize it in just a few words. Let's fight! Now let's fight together!
Well, we know that the Black Lanterns are in this universe. They followed him through into the Star Trek world. And Sinestro doesn't want to team up anymore. He says last time that all the Spectrums teamed up, they were defeated by the Black Lanterns. And remember, Broquettes, this is not the Blackest Night storyline that they're referring to. This is a different story in which many Green Lanterns have already died, including Kyle Rayner. So this isn't the time that they defeated the Black Lanterns that you know of from the Jeff Johns run. It's completely different, and as long as you can accept that, you'll be fine. It's not a big deal. They explained it in the first issue. It's easy. So Sinestro doesn't want to team up, but at the end, he's kind of like, well, let's see what happens. And I still think that if they team up, along with the Star Trek characters, they can push back Death.
I'm sure they can, and I'm sure they will in this last issue that's going to wrap everything up. I would still love to see this be an ongoing, because I think it's a lot of fun. It has a universe of stories it could tell with these different characters. This first story is huge, where you have, I wanted to call it Namek. It's not Namek. What's the name of the planet?
It's the same one that the Klingons, or not the Klingons, the Vulcans are from.
Yeah, but I knew the name. The planet Vulcan.
Is that really what it is?
I'm 90% sure. It's not Namek.
It is Vulcan. Yeah.
Okay. So, Vulcan's back, of course, with all the people, so Spock is hopefully going to have a hard time with that, because I would have a hard time with that. Like, my family's like gross-ass zombies.
If they end up doing another crossover with Green Lantern and Star Trek, go with a different Star Trek crew. Do a different Enterprise. Do the Next Generation next, since that is awesome. The next most popular of the Star Trek series.
What Lantern would Picard be?
Well, Picard always finds a way to get through all the shenanigans that he puts his ship through, so he would definitely be a Green Lantern, because he wills his way through it all.
I want him to be a Pink Lantern, because he seduces all the ladies.
That he does. He really does. So I think that would be a good one, too.
What about Riker?
Riker doesn't get as emotional. Maybe Hope. Maybe a Blue Lantern.
Is there a food lantern? could he
He'd be an orange lantern. He'd want all the syrup.
All the syrup. What about Worf? He would be a yellow lantern. Or a red lantern.
Yellow or red. I think red. Yeah.
What about that lady?
Counselor Troy?
Yeah.
She'd probably be
the pink
blue
lantern.
As well.
Blue? She would
think.
be a Hope lantern.
Last one, Data.
Yeah. What lantern would Data be?
Maybe white, because he wants to be human and alive so badly. So I think a white lantern would suit him. Everyone would be surprised that the white lantern ring would come to him.
Mm-hmm. Pretty cool. I want to see this happen now.
We put your ideas out there.
Engage.
All they have to do is put it in a comic.
They have to listen to our podcast first before they can put it in the comic.
So now we have our one Marvel book for the week.
This is The Mighty Thor, #1. It's written by Jason Aaron, with art by Russell Dodderman, and the colorist is Matthew Wilson.
So it's another Thor #1. Mm-hmm. And it does generally pick up right where the last series ended, but it does a good job in explaining the situation that this new Thor is in. If you were ever a critic of this Thor and saying that Thor doesn't need to be a female, or why is Thor a girl now, and I always have to correct people and say, no, Thor's not a girl. Thor did not turn into a girl. Thor's still around. The son of Odin is around, but now there's a new wielder of the hammer who goes by Thor, because she has the power of Thor. So hence Thor. And with the beginning opening pages, if you ever had a problem with this, it will immediately go away, because you sympathize so much with what this Thor is going through and why she is killing herself essentially to do good in the world and to try to protect those around her and try to help out her friends too. And all of that is killing her, and it will completely make sense when you read it. If you want to jump on with this #1, I think you'll be absolutely fine. And it does have the reveal of a very popular villain at the end of the issue.
This is actually my pick of the week. Loved this issue. Like you said, the whole story leading up, there's a lot of internal dialogue that was brilliantly executed. I love this character so much more than I ever have before because of the backstory and all her reasonings for doing what she's doing. And, I understand completely why she's worthy of wielding the hammer, because she's so selfless. And I don't think there's a person in existence who could do that.
Yeah, it's an extremely human book, and my pick of the week as well.
Copier.
Now we can move on to the DC books, one of which is a finale.
Yes, Bizarro number 6 of 6. This is written by Heath Corson with art by Gustavo Duarte, Tim Sale, and Dave Stewart, and the colorist is Pete Pantazis.
So as we learned for number 5, Bizarro and Jimmy did not end on good terms. Mm-hmm. Jimmy ended up being an asshole and hurting Bizarro based on what he said in the very first issue. And they kind of come together and they rebuild their friendship, and I felt like that was the warmest part of the book, and that's why Bizarro has been such a treat for us, because as we've done before, Bizarro is the equivalent of the Iron Giant for the Superman universe. He's very innocent in his actions. He doesn't quite understand why people do things, and he's easily hurt too.
I thought this was a very fitting finale. You get to see all of his friends and kind of relive the journey that we've been on through this whole thing. It even kind of ties back all the way into the first or second issue. It comes full circle. We get to see Bizarro meeting his hero, Superman, which was adorable. But like you said, it was very warm, his reconnecting with Jimmy and how they become the unbestest friends once again.
There's even a very nice editorial note where Jimmy says, "Oh boy, this is going to make for a wild book," and they're referring to their trip, and the editorial note says, "Yeah, let's see how the trade sells."
Yeah.
So I immediately tweeted, and I was like, "We've been pushing it every single issue. It's good."
Yeah, it's fantastic. So guys, pick up the trade
when that eventually releases.
So that we can get some more of this.
Next comic is Harleen Quinzel number 22, written by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti, who came to MegaCon Fan Days. Art by Chad Hardin, colors by Alex Sinclair.
Harley is a riot, as always. A very fun book. We get the return of a kind of villain from a previous issue, who's going to be even more of a villain now.
Yes.
But my favorite part of this book stems from 10th grade summer reading, when I had to read a book called Anna Karenina, and it's mentioned in this comic, and so I knew what she was talking about, but I can't remember any of that fucking book that I read back in 10th grade, because it was terrible.
That's probably my only thing about number 22 is I would call it a jumping on point, except for the fact that it does harken back to a villain from a previous issue, and they don't tell you exactly who this person is yet, and I don't know if Jimmy and Amanda will with number 23, so that's the only part I'm hesitant at. I don't want to tell people to get number 22 and it'll be fine moving forward, so I think for now it's not a jumping on point, especially with the other the ex-boyfriend that Harley Quinn, or the crush that she has, now going into a situation as she's in jail from another bit of Harley Quinn's story so far.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't call it a jumping on point, but it was still a very, very entertaining issue. If you want to get into Harley Quinn and you haven't been reading this first, why not? Because it's great. Definitely try and get them from the beginning, because it's all been wonderful up until now. But if you say, you know what, I really want to get into it, yeah, go ahead and jump on this one. Because it's still, you're going to enjoy it even if you don't understand every little piece.
Relating to Harley Quinn, don't forget, Brokettes, next month you have the December Harley Quinn's Little Black Book. That's going to be a bi-monthly ongoing series in which Harley Quinn will team up with a different hero, first one being Wonder Woman. The next one, based on the solicitations that we just got, is Green Lantern Hal Jordan.
That's awesome.
That she will team up with next. And to celebrate this, DC is again releasing these polybagged variants for Harley Quinn, in which superstar artists like J. Scott Campbell, Bruce Timm, who we adore, Alex Ross, will be coming out with a penciled, inked, and colored version of their cover, which you don't know what you're going to get until you get the polybagged one. And as they release more of these covers, more people are pre-ordering them. So if you see an artist on there, if you're like us and you pre-ordered ahead of time without even knowing what the covers are going to look like, because you trust Darwin Cook, because you trust Amanda Conner, then you're good and you're all set. But as more of these release, try to get on that list as soon as you can, because people will buy multiple copies of that trying to get their particular version of that cover.
Our final book this week is Secret Six, number 8. This is written by Gail Simone with art by Dale Eaglesham and Tom Derenick, and the colorist is Jason Wright.
If it hadn't been for Lumberjanes, this actually would have been my pass of the week.
It is my pass of the week.
It goes more into your magic, which
yes.
of course you adore.
Yeah.
It kind of,
that was sarcasm, Brokettes.
kind of went ignored the Etrigan stuff in number 7 and immediately made him into like this comedic character, which I normally don't have a problem with, but I wanted there to be more of a transition into that.
Right.
And I'm glad Etrigan is playing along with the Secret Six. There's a guest appearance from another Justice League member at the very end of this, which was kind of funny also. But other than that, it was just to like all over the place. Go destroy these stone structures or protect them if you want Black Alice to live. And then there's these other magic.
And I had this thing back when the cavemen were around. Cthulhu was in the sky, and then these things. I don't know. Yes, I don't like magic in DC, probably for this reason, because it's difficult for it all to make sense.
Yeah, unfortunately, and it is kind of thrown in as exposition, like, here's the background, and hopefully you get it. All right, now on to the Secret Six. So I'll be personally more happy to see this arc over, and we're not going to drop the book at all because we have had fun with it so far. This just happens to be a weaker arc in Secret Six.
So guys, that does do it for our comic books this week. Just to remind all of you, my pick of the week was the Mighty Thor #1.
Yep, same here.
And my pass of the week was Secret Six #8.
And my pass of the week was Lumberjanes #20.
As we mentioned this past weekend, after we've recorded, but before the podcast aired, we were able to go to MegaCon Fan Days. We will have a total recap next weekend for you. But if any broke hats out there did get the opportunity to go, please hit us up on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke. Let us know what you saw, what you did, what you enjoyed, and how you enjoyed the event overall.
Yeah, and you can let us know by heading on over to nerdupmedia.com. If you click on the Reasons I'm Broke, it will actually give you a handy link to everywhere you can find us. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, absolutely everywhere. You can follow us, like our page, and interact with us every single day based on the latest book you read or the MegaCon that you went to. So let us know, and don't forget to follow us there.
While you're on nerdupmedia.com, you can click on Shop. There you can find shirts in a variety of different colors, men's and women's sizes, with our Nerd Up Media logo. Or you can get the Reasons I'm Broke purple Barracudas. That's what it looks like. Okay. The special purple shirt.
Comes in a variety of sizes for both men and women.
As always, thank you guys so much for listening. We enjoy putting this out for you every week and hearing back from you. So now you can put away your wallets, put away your credit cards. We won't make you any more broke this week, but we'll definitely make you broke next week.
Yes, we will.
Thank you guys so much. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you on the next one.